Hey folks, Mil-Spec Ops Mickey here. Listen, let's talk satellite phones for a minute. I've had a lot of you reach out to me and ask about getting your hands on them. And let's just take a look at what's going on around the world. The senators have been issued satellite phones. I will tell you, first responders as well have all been issued satellite phones. So you too should have your own satellite phone because of the things going on around the world, whether it's unrest, whether it's crazy weather. This is a technology you want to have in your hands because when the grid goes down, you're not going to be able to use your regular mobile phone to communicate with anybody. We've made it easy for you. You can jump over to monkeysat.com. It is through the satellite phone store. Again, monkeysat.com. They have a multitude of different options for you. There are a couple different satellite phones that they can get your hands on, as well as packages and bundles that will fit your need, whether it is solar charging, etc. They also have the Bivy stick. So if you're on a budget, it's a great way to maintain communications in a down grid type of situation. So again, monkeysat.com. It's going to make it easy for you just to jump right over there and get what you need. That's it. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Mickey here. This is going to be your SITREP. It is 11 a.m. Central Time coming to you from the great state of Texas. It is June 7th, 2023, and we're going to cover a lot of things today. If you're wondering what my thumbnail was when I said 72 to animal, it is basically when things go hot and you have unrest or a down-grid situation or whatever it may be, there's civil turmoil, I guess we could call it. You basically have about 72 hours to contain that situation before people start acting like animals. And that is what we're going to talk a little bit more about today. I'm going to show you some things that are going on in the world and just things that we need to be very aware of so that when those conditions arise, we do not inject ourselves into them. It's one of the reasons why, I put out the things that I do relative to advertising, right? With, relationships that we build with sat phone companies and with prepping companies. And it is because it is imperative that we take the precautions so that we are not put into that situation when it goes hot. Okay. And it is a matter of when, it's not if. It's coming. And I think that may be why we're seeing the survey flights, because there are a multitude of different scenarios that could unfold. I was just reading today another news article that said that they're getting ready to basically a federal indictment on Trump. And so that means, they're going to take out their opponent. They're not going to allow this guy to run. I will bet my life on it. There are two sets of laws, and he falls into the laws that we fall under. And they will remove him at all costs. And when they do that, you've got a recipe for disaster in terms of civil unrest. The other piece, banking system. We keep hearing over and over and over, and we're going to talk about some of that here today as well, about the banking system collapsing. If any one of those two things happen, it's going to get ugly very quickly. And if they both happen, it's game over. Yeah, it's going to be just straight up nutso. All right, let's get over here to our mini board real fast. We're actually looking at just the air refuelers up right now. Remember, this is a very good indicator of fighters because fighters don't have a large fuel load capacity. Therefore, they need fuel more often. And that is coming straight out of the mouth of a military air traffic controller, okay? So, but yeah, you can see over the center of the United States is going to be our heaviest area as they are starting to head outbound. Notice this one is kind of heading out to cover this region. These are down on the border yet again, which tells me there's something going on down here in Mexico that we don't know about. I doubt they're using fighters for cartel, but, it could be something else, right? And then, of course, we've got it down in this area servicing. We know there's a ton of trainer activity that takes place down here in the Florida Panhandle, mainly because of Pensacola and some of the other bases that are down there. You got F-35 training and a lot of other things, okay? And then we get up here in the Northeast, and we know what that's all about, right? That's going to be flashbang. So we're going to talk more about where he's headed this weekend, too, all right? And let's let me do this. Let's jump over here to our watch list. We're going to take a look at that first. Then we're going to get into the Intel aircraft, the drones, R-135s, and then the surveys. Notice we have some more survey flights in the general area right here. That over Arizona, and then a little B-703. That's a third-party air refueler. Or sometimes that is also a, well, let's just stick with air refueler for now. We got another Hubble balloon, a couple more survey flights, another balloon. That one is at, 70,000 feet. So we've got 2 intelligence balloons that we're seeing. Granted, they're probably a lot more than that. More survey flights. Surprise. We've got 17 of them up right now. And it looks like we get down into Florida, and it's just kind of a little hot pocket there. We've got some Homeland Security. We have some NOAA birds. We have some survey flights, but they're all mixed up in there. Even a little Navy P-8 in the area. Again, survey flights. Survey flights. Yeah, that's where we are in terms of survey flights. All right, then we get over here to Europe, and we'll just kind of back it up a little bit. We do have this one that you're seeing on ground. That's actually a German intelligence balloon. It's just showing wrong altitude. You've got the others up here. You can see 62,700 feet. There's 3 of them up that you're showing today. Got a little E3 Sentry doing figure 8s. That would be a survey and another survey. And yeah, it's and we got this one here, a little Airbus. That's going to be a British bird, and that's coming out of Cyprus. And that's kind of it for the watch list today. Let me just see. Yeah. Oh, wait. No, we do have one more. I forgot. We need to look at this one. This is actually a Q9 drone over India, a United States Q9 drone over India. So what are they doing? Looking at something. Looking at somebody, looking at, or a lot of people. So anyway, just a little data point for you there, but let's see. We're going to jump on over here. Let's take a look at the Intel aircraft. We don't really have anything down here in Australia in terms of watch list. All right. And I failed to grab the data last night to keep us in line there. So, okay. Civilian Intel gathering aircraft. They all pretty much working for their defense departments doing stuff. And notice this one just sweeping around Kaliningrad. That becomes important, especially Belarus as well, because they are, let me button that up a little bit. They are actually, and this one here over Israel, that's some drone activity, doing some intel gathering, a little bit of work there down into the Red Sea. Notice that it disappears down there, right? You can see that broken trace line right there. But yeah, it's been lighter than usual. Remember too, the spring offensive has kicked off. There's some stuff up near Winnipeg, Canada, some things over DC, and then of course we got some transitions here. It looks like, but our usual activity down over the Tucson area. And these are drones. So notice this one is kind of over or just to the east of Los Angeles. And it is climbed up, did some altitude grab there and probably some data grab. Then we get over here to DC. This is actually over the Chesapeake. And it is not at the high altitude, probably around 25,000 feet. And it is just grabbing stuff down below there. And then this one, look at the little pigtail corkscrew stuff we got going here as that Q9 drone climbs up out of Jacksonville, almost straight up, and then does some long, slow circles, grabbing data, and then back down. And that's going to be the U.S. drone activity. Now we get over here to Europe, and notice this one is up over the Baltic region. This is a new drone. I just found this morning, and I added it in, and it has been kind of busy out there. Just notice that it's not a super high altitude, kind of like the one we see down north of Tripoli, but looks to be gathering some ground intel. And then we got this, which is either a Q9 or a Q4 flying out. Looks like it flew out over the Black Sea, kind of went dark as it got over the Black Sea. And then this is going to be your R135 activity. Just notice that there is a little soiree of stuff going on over Vegas and over Utah. And then the usual suspects there over Lincoln, Nebraska, and down over the other areas there. And then notice here that we've got some activity going on around Kaliningrad again, last 3 days. And then this one I think is very curious because that's north of Benghazi in the Mediterranean, which that right there is, I don't know. They're probably looking at stuff nuclear if I had to guess in that general area. All right. Okay. Remember, the Russians took over Benghazi when we bailed out of Benghazi. So, all right, this is going to be your survey flights. Notice we got some stuff up in Darwin, some stuff in Brisbane. And then we get down, we've even got stuff down in Tasmania, which I find interesting, in Melbourne. And let me see. I think we had a little bit of stuff going on there in Perth as well. The usual suspects, so to speak. And then the U.S., we do have some pretty long transitions. We're down to 174 in terms of survey flights. Now, my big gut feel is when the survey flights end, we need to all be on our toes because that would be an indicator they got all the information that they needed. And then it's probably a matter of processing that data. And then, yeah. So they've been doing it 7 days a week, folks. So there is a sense of urgency to this. You notice they're up there in Canada still. Notice they've gone. They're over Idaho, Wyoming now. They really haven't been over those areas quite as frequently as others. And then you've got stuff down Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, again, south of the Metroplex. That's down towards Benbrook in that area, kind of the southern side of Dallas-Fort Worth. And then notice the transition line. So that's either moving from point A to point B or actually going back to home base and shutting down. I don't feel like that is the case yet, but we're watching for these things to end, and then that's when I think we need to be staying really frosty at that point. All right. And then notice here, Denmark, really, really like getting busy there in Denmark. So that's kind of, an uptick from what we've seen. We've got it up in Poland. We've got it in Portugal. A little bit of stuff going on there near Barcelona. Turin still has some little activity. And then let me get us back up here, Poland. Now notice the Poznan location there to the left of that center is going to be a U.S. military base location. So it's a little north of a U.S. military base. No drone or no survey activity over that general area, Tripoli, etc. So yeah, I said Perth earlier. I don't see anything over Perth. So maybe they're done. Okay, that's going to be your 3-day surveys. And let's talk, while we got the survey information up, let's talk about this. I don't know if you've seen this. I'm going to play this reel, and it's important to pay attention to it because it is the FDIC talking to a congressional panel, and it has been covered on Fox News in their late night show. Now, what I'm going to do is periodically stop it, talk for a minute or a few seconds, and put it back on because I'm trying to do this through fair use so I don't get dinged for copyright or anything else, okay? So listen up here.
For this, they admit they will send out an announcement and they will tell us not to use money. This is how that's going to go down. They tell us that they plan on telling us on a Friday night. See if you can guess why they would tell us on a Friday night that the banking system has collapsed.
There are a lot of things we've been thinking about, and what we want to hear from you today is what you think the priorities would be in order to go about setting expectations appropriately in public about how we would execute Title II, so that if and when we do have to have that announcement on Friday night, ideally Friday night.
I forget I'm on mute when I do this. Otherwise, you guys get an echo. I need to go look and see what Title II is, but I have a feeling that it's probably not good. But anyway, this is the FDIC, whoever it is. Just notice her choice of words, very left-leaning. The typical tripe that we hear when they talk about, safe spaces and all the other kind of stuff. So, all right, let's get back into it here.
that people are in a position to receive it, understand it, and say, yeah, that works. And we can see how this will happen. Of course, there will be doubters, but there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I'd say there are going to be a lot of doubters. So, but there's a lot of things that'll be going on. So that is a very, that's a mouthful, to say the least. This isn't going to be smooth in terms of the rollout. This is why I think the survey systems are taking shape, or the survey flights, sorry, because their intent to roll this out, I think, is going to cause some serious upheaval, okay? You have to remember, too, there are 38 million people, and that was since 2019. It's probably significantly higher than that now, but 38 million people, or roughly 12% of the U.S. population, are on either SNAP or EBT, right? Food stamps, okay? And so if the system collapses and these people do not get their money into their bank accounts, what do you think is going to happen? All right, that's the first piece. The other piece is keep in mind that if the system collapses, what's going to happen to all the seniors, right? You've got folks that are on Social Security, folks that are on fixed incomes, folks that are on. This is going to be outright calamity if it is not handled properly. And given the current administration, I don't feel like anything is going to be handled properly. In fact, I think it's deliberately just bobbled. I mean, they're going to just botch the whole thing, just like Buttigieg does with his transportation stuff, right? He's a WEF guy, and he has no business doing what he is doing in terms of making decisions relative to supply chain, because he has zero background or education relative to supply chain, transportation stuff, especially global supply chain. My God. All right, let's get back to this.
So Friday night, of course, and the banking system is closed. So people all weekend can just be at home freaking out because, oh, wait a minute, I just lost. What's going to happen with my money? Yeah. My bank's going, we're in this economic, what the hell are you going to do about my money? It's gone. They're admitting this is coming. When the collapse comes, the FDIC admits that they will send out an announcement. When the collapse comes, the FDIC admits that they will send out an announcement. So get ready for this. They admit they will send out an announcement and they will tell us not to use money. This is how that's going to go down. They tell us that they plan on telling us on a Friday night. See if you can guess why they would tell us on a Friday night that the banking system has collapsed.
There are a lot of things we've been thinking.
Okay. So, yeah, roll it out on a Friday night so everybody's sitting at home on the weekend. Can't use any money over the weekend. Can't do anything. Businesses, individuals, whatever it may be, paychecks from major institutions and or major corporations. What happens to your mortgage? There is going to be a lot of stuff going down. And I'm telling you, it is not going to be pretty. And so that's why I continuously say you don't want to get stuck in all of this. Take a look at this. This is from Chicago. This is a video. And I'm just going to talk to it. I don't have any sound going because, quite frankly, the sound, they're not very, they're using colorful words. But this is a Walmart in Chicago, and this lady is walking around, and she's basically saying, I've got a family to feed, and I don't have the ability to even feed them because of this looting. Now, this is what happens when society collapses, and what will happen is people will ransack in mob fashion every grocery store out there. They will take everything they can get their hands on, things that are worth money, and they will kill you to get it, okay? Especially after about 3 days, right? The initial stuff will happen, but let me tell you, when people start to go hungry and people can't get food and water for their families, that's when it goes 72 to animal, okay? That means people will begin acting like animals after about 72 hours of this kind of unrest and not having the ability to put food on their table or get things that they need to survive. That's why I say it is imperative that you take care of your family, get the things you need, because at the end of the day, money isn't going to it's not going to do you any good, right? You go look at Argentina, you look at any other country out there that has been through this type of a collapse, Venezuela, They basically will tell you that, it came down to bartering. The money was worthless, and what you could get, you had to get by trading either goods or something in lieu of. Okay. I know it's pretty dark stuff, folks, but let's move on. We'll get over here to our main board now. Let's start talking about stuff going on in the world. We got a lot of stuff to cover. First off, New York City is under an unhealthy air quality alert as smoke from Canadian wildfires pours into the Northeast. Yeah, they're basically telling people, hey, stay indoors. It's bad enough. I don't know if you saw on, I think it was the Weather Channel, they were covering some video showing a Yankees game last night, and the fact that when you went above the stadium and looked, everything was just orange. It was really crazy to think that that's all coming from Canada. But let's bounce over here and take a gander at what is going on up here. Now, this is what is really staggering. They are saying they have had more acreage destroyed so far in this event in the last 30 days, 45 days, than they've had over a 10-year span. So they've already doubled the amount in that short time frame this year than they've had over a 10-year time frame. That just goes to show you the magnitude of what it is we're seeing here. But 294 fires, I think it was, last count, end to end. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. So we'll continue to watch that and monitor it. And then I'm going to come back to this here in just a minute because we're going to talk about TFRs and flashbang, okay? All right. So speaking of flashbang, it is Wednesday. And so June 7th, it looks like he has really nothing on his plate. It looks like he may or may not get out of his jammies at around 10 a.m., wrapping up around 1 p.m. That is just what we see from a public schedule perspective. I'm sure that he is doing far more damage than what we see on a calendar. Assuming he gets out of his onesie and he's actually putting pen to paper. It reminds me of Mel Brooks when he's the gov and he is basically just signing stuff. He has no idea what he's signing, and hey, I didn't get a harumph out of that guy, and he has no idea what he's signing. That's probably what we're watching here happen in the White House. The scary thing is, we are just one fall away from having a President Harris, okay? This guy is at the age where if he takes a pretty serious fall like he did on the stage the other day, or happens to tumble down the stairs coming out of Air Force One, he could basically, punch out. And then we would be very, very likely to have a President Harris, which should scare the daylights out of all of us. Okay. All right. Let's move on here. U.S. corn crop deteriorates after Midwest hit by the worst drought in decades. You can see, I'm just going to go through this quickly, but this the last time we had this level of a drought was in 2020. We are now a couple years later, and we're at the same level. It's not good because this corn is used for feeding our livestock. Okay. And if they aren't eating, they aren't getting fat, and they aren't thriving. And so for the most part, it's used to feed our livestock. Okay. It's not, some of it goes into cereal. A lot of it goes overseas to China because they're buying everything we had. Hopefully we've stopped that, seeing that they've got 65% of the world's corn and soy and everything else already in storage. All right. Over here, this one I find very interesting. Nearly 4,000 jobs were lost to AI last month. And this is kind of your big takeaway here. It says the company's May report says that U.S.-based companies announced 80,000 job cuts just last month, and 39,000 of those are directly related to AI, meaning that that capability coming online is basically swiped 4,000 jobs, and that's here in the U.S. I would imagine in India, that number's probably flip-flopped because they are big into basically tech support, right? And so AI has the ability to go in and do most of that. Now, what's going to get really wild is when somebody figures out how to use AI to do cyber attacks, because at that point, it's going to be game on, let me tell you. All right, moving on. Here we go. World Bank sees major economies growing at much slower pace thanks to higher interest rates and bank stress. And they're basically saying the prediction through Deutsche Bank is that U.S. will be in a recession, a heavy recession, by Q4 of this year. All right, so that's the back end of this year. I think it'll be further than what everybody is predicting or saying, because I think just like the mainstream media likes to do, they are keeping us distracted by a multitude of other things, because if we all figure out that this is coming, then we're all going to prepare for what is coming. And it's going to make it a lot harder to take us all down if we're fed well. Okay, so anyway, there's that data point for you. All right, this is a new U.S. spy satellite system that is actually going up. It is I forget what they call orbital something, but it's basically like a mesh network called Silent Barker. It's going to be over our heads at 22,000 miles above. That gets it out of all of the debris field and basically allows them to watch and monitor the debris field. But they basically are saying that it's to watch things that are going on between China and Russia and their ability to basically take out our own satellite systems. So that looks like that is getting ready to launch here pretty quickly. Now, how do you take out the threat if you can see it coming, but how do you stop it? That tells you that there's a lot more to this stuff, probably like Star Wars, if I had to guess, okay? And not the movie, but the Reagan Star Wars, okay? Just thought I would clarify that. All right, here we go. Bitdefender today. Let's see, speaking of cyber attacks, like I said, when it becomes all AI driven, that's when it's going to be interesting. Now, there are bots that go into play, but that is not to the degree of what I think is capable when it comes to AIs. Oh yeah, look at this. Can you tell the spring offensive is going? Look at the attacks coming in to the United States right now from a cyber perspective. Just watch this wave that just bounces in. Look at that. Yeah, definitely on the uptick, folks. All right, let's talk NOTAMs. As we get over here, notice there is a lot of stuff going on all over the United States right now. Spring into summer is when all the National Guards start to activate and do their thing. We are still trying to confirm whether or not this National Guard stuff we're seeing in some of the airports has legs, what it's all about, if it goes away, if they were just passing through. We don't know, but we have gotten a lot of reports on it, as well as pictures that I'm not at liberty to share. Because I've been asked not to share them. So, but yeah, there's a lot of eyes on a lot of stuff going on around the country right now that are getting people a little bit spooked, so to speak. Yeah, there we go. All right, here we go. This is an activated space. Let me see, Bravo 3, Week 2. Not really sure what this is all about, but that looks like that is a box that's out over the West Coast water there. And then we've got our danger boxes up the East Coast. And then here are the TFRs. So let's go back over here to what we've got on the docket TFR-wise. A couple of things I'm going to point out. One, Flashbang is headed to the bunker again this weekend. So, given that there is a spring offensive going, I'd say a light spring offensive. It is not to the degree that I think everybody touted it was going to be, but it looks like he's headed to his bunker. I do find it interesting, a double ring there. Let's see. Then we go air show. That little red one right there that you see up here kind of in the corner, that is Trump's TFR. So he evidently has another TFR that has been issued over his residence. And let me see if I've got a window on this. Yeah, it runs from June 1st until September 30th. All right. So I guess he's up there at his summer home. And I'm glad that they have that over him, honestly. This is also air shows. Now, this is Flashbang leaving on the 9th, I believe, headed down to the Carolinas. All right. So just figured I would point that out, but that thus the giant yellow circles. All right. You got to give him more time in case he trips, you know. All right, let's get over here. We are going to go through this at light speed because I am trying to maintain our window, our 30-minute showtime. So, all right, yeah, it looks like we've got a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on all over Europe relative to NOTAMs. These are all either mill ops or mill exercises going on, okay? Much like it has been. Okay, here, Ukrainian situation report, offensive going better than expected, the U.S. says. So evidently it did kick off. We were talking about that the other day, Zelensky had said it was a go. And it looks like it has indeed kicked off. But the White House is saying it's too early to see how destructive the dam instance that just took place is going to affect the counteroffensive. But let's just, we'll keep our eye on it. This is not what I was expecting from a counteroffensive. Normally a counteroffensive you think would be, have a lot of gusto behind it, right? But this seems to be a counteroffensive light. So I was expecting NATO to probably get engaged here within 10 days, but I'm gonna retract that statement because I don't see that happening given the level of this offensive. This offensive seems, like I said, it's not a true counteroffensive or a pushback in my eyes of what the level I think it needs to be in order for NATO to step in. So, but we're going to keep an eye on it because you just never know. They do have a lot of equipment. When we see the F-16s come into play, that's going to change some of the dynamics, okay? All right. Now let's talk Ukraine for a minute. This dam collapse. Now this is just straight up bananas, pun intended. This is the nuclear reactor. This is the dam. Now there's footage. We don't know who took it out, but I will tell you that both Putin and Erdogan are getting together because they want to investigate who took this out, which tells me, kind of like the Nord Stream, that this was probably intentional. There are a couple things to this. If you look at it, picture on the left was where the strike hit that created the hole, and then this is after as the dam just starts to deteriorate. But the interesting thing is down here, downstream, it says it's going to have an impact on 42,000 people. And so that's major, major flooding. The other piece of this too, this is Crimea down here, okay? A little bit further south, of course, hard to see from that. Let me get over here to the Ukraine map and we can just show you that. But here, just straight over across from me, is Crimea. Okay, that's that little island that's down at the very bottom. The flooding that's taking place is kind of towards the ocean side, into the villages, just to the north side of Crimea. What that does is cuts off Crimea and their ability to basically drive tanks across that area. Okay, it also prevents Ukraine from driving tanks across that area. So this is kind of that case of, well, who does it benefit the most to do that? Now, the other piece to that is keep in mind that let me get back over to the mini. This nuclear power plant, the water that's here inside this area is used to cool that power plant. Now, if something happens and that reactor runs dry, you got another Chernobyl right here on your hands. And that is probably going to impact everybody in this area, but it will certainly impact this part of the land mass that's being fought over right now, okay? So we will continue to watch that. They may actually have to shut down this nuclear reactor, which will kill power going into Crimea, all right? So could be part of the reason why, all right? So we'll keep our eye on that, but that's going to be crucial because they're already saying that the water levels within this area are dropping significantly. All right. Now, this is the last news item right here. This is IDF attacked a secret Iranian weapon factory in Syria. They said it was up there in Aleppo, which is north of Damascus. This is just important because just like we woke up and read this that had taken place when Isaiah 17 takes shape, you will wake up and Damascus will be no more, okay? Which would probably be because Iran is right across the border from Israel with probably some type of weapon of mass destruction, okay? All right, let's get over here and look at the camber flights. We've got 5 of them up right now. It looks to be stuff heading, this is on a descent. It's down at 38,000 feet, 564 miles an hour. It looks like maybe either it's leveling down because of weather or it's descending for a landing. This one coming out of Anchorage, Alaska. Let's just kind of look at the equipment that's out there. And when I say equipment, we're talking about aircraft type. Okay. So we've got 747-400s, 2 of those, one out of Doha, one out of Ramstein, and then everything else, MD-11s as well as 767. So could be some troop movement going on here. Keep in mind, remember I was talking about this whole exercise going on in Finland and Sweden and in the Baltic Sea area, and a very large exercise. And I said it is probably going to coincide with the timing of the spring offensive, and it did almost to the day. All right, so it looks like they basically are there for a reason. So we'll keep our eye on that piece of it, but I just want to point out that that's one of the things that we said was probably taking shape, and it looks like that was actually the case. So this down here should be Doha. And let me see, it could be, yeah, I think it's Doha. All right. And that's probably this plane here that took off out of Doha. And then this one is inbound. Again, no destination known currently. That's camber flights for a reason. And then we get over here to Biggs Army Airfield. The big thing I want to point out is just given the fact that these are smaller aircraft types. Okay, so that means we've got these 737, these A320 Airbuses. More than likely, those are moving, and we hope that more than likely they're moving immigrants in and out of that location. Notice that we've got what looks to be headed up to Cincinnati, 2 of them, and then this one here headed into Topeka, Kansas, and the other into Topeka Regional. If that is troops, then they're moving some troops around. Let's see if it goes external from there or if it's domestic. But it seems like the last time we saw this activity, there was stuff happening here with immigrants, and that's what I'm thinking this may be. They've probably filled up the location at El Paso at Biggs Army Airfield immigrant camp, and they are basically rehoming these folks. Okay. All right, taking a look at Dover. We do have one coming in. We got a Coletta coming in, another unknown from Chicago. Both of those are 747s. Looks like that one is headed over to England, the 747. And then this one, I don't know what that is. Hangar 8 coming inbound. No idea what that is. All right, let's go over to Ramstein, see what we've got. Camber flight, Atlas Air. So 747, a lot of big equipment coming into Ramstein right now. Now, when it leaves, it looks like one's going back to Baltimore, so that's delivering something into Ramstein because it's returning back. And then this Kuwait headed out to Kuwait, and then this one's headed out to destination unknown. Moving on. All right. This is going to be RZE Poland. This is your forward operating base. Let's see. I only see one right here, although that one right there is, no, that's not. This is going to be a British Royal Air Transport. See if we've got anything else. That's NATO coming inbound from Berlin. Another Brit coming in. And that looks like the main brunt of it. Let's see what we've got going out. Just the British one looks to be leaving. And it looks like the NATO flight was a round trip from Berlin. And not see anything else. Really quiet there at the forward operating base. Okay. Now, one thing, just to go back here real fast as just a data point for you. When we start watching this base, when you start to see the commercial aviation traffic dissipate or go away, that's going to be an indicator that they're expecting this thing to spread beyond the Ukrainian border. Okay, how soon that'll happen, I don't know, but that is an indicator we'll be watching for because they will not allow commercial aviation into a war theater. All right. Okay. Again, National Cargo, just noticed that both coming out. One's going Hawaii to Guam. The other's going Anchorage down to Mexico City. Okay. That's an interesting data point. Pay attention to that. I've never seen anything going from Anchorage from a National Cargo 747 down to Mexico City in all my tracking. So we'll watch that. Okay. All right. Here's one for you. This is Western Global 747 coming out of Tokyo, headed to Chicago. Man, that's a long flight. All right, moving some stuff. Now, they could be taking some troops and bringing them back, then sending them to Europe. I don't know. Or it is heavy equipment. All right, they're probably going to need it, backfill. Okay, then here's Omni Air, Campbell Air Force Base, Kentucky, and headed into Topeka, Kansas, which that is 767-200. Interesting. Could be troops. They could be bringing them into Topeka, Kansas, and then flying them across the drink. So these could be troops getting activated. All right. And then here, this is going to be your NATO flights. So just notice you've got this one out of Eindhoven and Port Said down here near Egypt. So that's pretty far south. Remember, too, we were just looking at right here, Benghazi. We were looking at the R-135 doing some legwork in that area. Where's this Benghazi over here? It's hard to keep my head around all of this. I think Tripoli is over here. Maybe it's over here. This is Libya, I think. This is Egypt. All right. Mercy. Okay. And when you're starting to look at things, trying to figure out from shapes, okie doke. All right, this is going to be your Brits, and they are very busy today. Haven't been this busy in a while, but notice their location. It looks like they are rolling in and out of RZE, forward operating base. Could be throwing some boots on the ground there. Notice the one thing that we don't see when it comes to these aircraft is the aircraft type. All right, they hide that. It's very difficult to figure out what we're really looking at here, equipment-wise. And then last but not least, this is RSD, and they are blank. We had a handful of flights, some of them rolling down, down here, pointing to the wrong body of water. This is the Black Sea, and they were in and out of Sochi right here, which is southern side, all the way down, southern end of Russia. Again, Crimea, part of Russia right here. And then this right here is Kaliningrad, if you just kind of from a 100,000 foot level, right? Kaliningrad right there. All right. Well, we will continue to watch and monitor the things that are going on. Let's see what happens with this spring offensive. How quickly it takes for NATO to get engaged is really going to be dependent on how Russia responds to the activity taking shape. It looks like this is not just a straight up effort where they're attacking Russia, but merely attempting to push Russia back to its original, or not its original, its most recent borders. Okay. So that is probably what this is shaking loose as. Will they need NATO help? Probably eventually, because they're going to run out of equipment here pretty quickly. So, all right, listen, that's going to do it for today. We'll see you guys for the live show on Friday. You guys keep that powder dry and stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.